Here's something that sounds impossible. The cheapest Lamborghini you can buy today and the most expensive one both wear the same raging bull on the bonnet, but the gap between them is over 3 million pounds. 3 million. And most people assume that gap is simply about speed, that you're just paying for a lower 0 to 60 time as you climb the ladder. That is completely wrong. As you move up through the Lamborghini range, the entire purpose of the car changes underneath you. You stop buying transport and start buying engineering. Then you stop buying engineering and start buying artistry. And at the very top, you stop buying a car at all and start buying a piece of history that happens to have 4 wheels and a V12. These are the 7 levels of Lamborghini, from the Urus that quietly keeps the whole company alive, right up to the Revuelto and the Halo hypercars that tower above it. Stick with me, because by the end you'll know exactly which level gives you the most Lamborghini for your money and which ones are charging you a small fortune for a badge and a build number. Level 1, the gateway. And I know exactly what some of you are thinking. An SUV should not be the entry point to a Lamborghini. But here's the reality you have to understand before anything else makes sense. The Urus is the most important car Lamborghini has ever built, full stop. This is the car that pays for everything else you're about to see. Before the Urus arrived in 2018, Lamborghini was building only a few thousand cars a year and living on a knife edge. Then they bolted a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 into a 2.5-ton super SUV, and it exploded. The Urus became the best-selling Lamborghini in history almost overnight, and today it makes up more than half of everything the factory sells. The current Urus S starts at around 230,000 pounds and makes 657 horsepower. That's enough to drag this massive thing to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which is genuinely absurd for something you can fit a family and a week's shopping into. And that's the whole point. The Urus is the Lamborghini you can actually use every single day. School run in the morning, 300 miles of motorway in the afternoon, and it never once complains. People love to sneer at it and call it the sellout Lamborghini. Ignore them. Without the Urus, there is no Revuelto. This car funds the dream. Level 2, the sharpened SUV. Once you're in Urus money, Lamborghini gives you 2 very different ways to spend a bit more, and they pull in opposite directions. On one side, you've got the Urus Performante, and on the other, the new Urus SE plug-in hybrid. The Performance is the one for people who genuinely don't care that it's an SUV, they just want it to be savage. Lamborghini stripped weight out of it, dropped the ride height, fitted a wider track, stiffer springs, and a bespoke set of tires. It even has a special rally driving mode that lets the back end slide around on gravel, which is a ridiculous thing to build and exactly why we love them for building it. This is the SUV that set a production SUV record up the Pikes Peak Hill climb, beating cars that have no business being beaten by something this shape. Then there's the Urus SE, which goes the other way entirely. It adds a plug-in hybrid system for a combined 789 horsepower, and it can drive on electric power alone for short trips, which means you can creep out of your neighborhood in near silence before the V8 wakes up. One is about noise and aggression, the other is about technology and torque. Both sit comfortably north of 250,000 pounds, and which one you reach for tells Lamborghini everything about the kind of buyer you are. Level 3, the baby bull. Now we finally leave the SUVs behind and get to the car most people actually picture when they close their eyes and imagine a Lamborghini, the low-wide mid-engine supercar. For over a decade that car was the Huracan, but the Huracan has now bowed out, and in its place sits the brand new Temerario. And the Temerario is a genuinely massive leap. Where the old Huracan used a naturally aspirated V10, the Temerario switches to a 4-liter twin-turbo V8, paired with 3 electric motors for a combined 907 horsepower. But here's the detail that made enthusiasts sit up. That V8 revs all the way to 10,000 revolutions per minute. 10,000. That is Formula One territory in a car you can order with number plates. It'll do 0 to 60 in around 2.5 seconds, and it starts somewhere north of 350,000 pounds. This is the entry-level Lamborghini supercar, and the word entry is doing a lot of lying there, because there is nothing entry-level about the way it goes, but this is still the accessible dream. It's the one a successful business owner buys as their first proper Lamborghini. It's fast enough to frighten you, beautiful enough to stop traffic, and just usable enough that you could, in theory, drive it to dinner. Level 4, the purist's peak. Before we climb any higher, we have to stop and pay respect to a level that's quietly disappearing, and that's the naturally aspirated V10 in its most hardcore forms. The final and most focused versions of the Huracan deserve their own tier, because they represent something the entire industry is walking away from forever: an engine with no turbos and no hybrid assistance, just revs and noise. The Huracan STO, which stands for Super Trofeo Omologata, is essentially a race car that Lamborghini made just barely legal for the road. 631 horsepower, rear-wheel drive only, a massive fixed rear wing, and a single-piece bonnet and wing that lifts off like a Le Mans car. It is loud, it is uncompromising, and it demands that the driver actually knows what they're doing. Then there's the Huracan Storado, which is possibly the maddest idea Lamborghini has ever signed off. A supercar raised up on its suspension, given chunky off-road tires and roof-mounted lights, and built to be slid sideways across a desert. These cars aren't about outright numbers. They're about character. They're the last of a breed, and buyers already know it, which is exactly why the good ones are holding their value while newer, faster cars depreciate all around them. Level 5, the flagship. This is it. This is the top of the normal range, the car that every level below it exists to build up to. The Lamborghini Revuelto. When people think of the ultimate Lamborghini shape, the scissor doors, the impossible wedge, the sound that sets off car alarms 3 streets away, this is the car that carries that torch now that the Aventador has retired. And the Revuelto is a genuine landmark. At its heart is a brand new 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12, and Lamborghini flatly refused to give it up. Everyone expected them to downsize, to turbocharge, to soften it. Instead, they kept the screaming V12 and added 3 electric motors and a plug-in hybrid system on top for a combined 1,001 horsepower. It'll hit 60 in around 2.5 seconds and carry on to well over 200 miles an hour. And it starts at roughly 600,000 pounds. That engine, by the way, is still assembled by hand by one technician who signs their name to it before it goes into the car. This is Lamborghini proving that they can meet every modern emissions rule and swallow every piece of hybrid technology on the planet and still build something utterly, gloriously ridiculous. The Revuelto is the halo of the standard range, and it is spectacular. Now, quick pause, because if you've made it this far, you clearly care about more than just the headline numbers, and that already puts you ahead of about 90% of the people who clicked on this. If you're enjoying the breakdown, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because it genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think, and it means you won't miss the next one, right? Let's get into the cars that stop being cars. Level 6, the track-only monsters. Here is where things start getting strange, because at this level, Lamborghini builds cars that you are literally not allowed to drive on the road, and people pay more for them anyway. The Asenza SC-V12 is the clearest example. It's a track-only hypercar with a naturally aspirated V12 making over 830 horsepower, no hybrid help at all, and it produces more downforce than a GT3 race car. Lamborghini built just 40 of them, and to own one, you don't just need the money. You need to be invited into an exclusive ownership program where the factory stores and maintains your car for you. You show up, you drive it on a circuit, you hand it back. Sitting alongside cars like this are the ultimate versions of the previous flagship, like the Aventador SVJ, which took the old V12 to 759 horsepower, added active aerodynamics, and went and set a production car lap record at the Nürburgring when it launched. What separates Level 6 from everything below it is commitment. These aren't cars you compromise into daily life. They exist for one purpose, done to the absolute extreme, and building them at scale would ruin the very thing that makes them special. That's why they're rare, and that's why they're worshipped. Level 7, the halo and the collector's pieces. And now we arrive at the very top where the conversation stops being about performance and starts being about legend, legacy, and eye-watering exclusivity. These are the few-off hypercars, the cars Lamborghini builds in tiny numbers to celebrate an anniversary, honor a person, or simply prove a point. The Cian was the first ever hybrid Lamborghini, and instead of a normal battery, it used a supercapacitor, a wild piece of technology that charges and discharges far faster than any battery can. It made 819 horsepower. Only 63 coupes were built, and it cost around £3.5 million. Then there's the Countach LPI 800-4, a modern reimagining of the poster car that defined the 1970s, limited to just 112 units, every single one sold before it was even revealed to the public. Go back a little further, and you find cars like the Veneno and the Centenario, built in numbers you can count on your fingers, each one costing well over £1.5 million, and appreciating in value the moment the ink dried on the order form. And then, at the very peak, sit the true one-offs, cars like the single-seat Egoista, built for nobody but Lamborghini itself. Owning a car at this level has almost nothing to do with driving. Most of them will cover only a few hundred miles in their entire lives. These are financial assets and rolling sculptures, and the people who own them aren't buying a Lamborghini. They're buying a chapter of the story, so where's the sweet spot? Where does your money actually go furthest across these 7 levels? Here's my honest take. If you want to genuinely use your Lamborghini, live with it, drive it every day, and still feel special every single time, Level 1 and Level 2, the Urus range, are unbeatable, and there's no shame in that whatsoever. If you want the real, pure, mid-engined Lamborghini experience, the car that makes children point and grown adults pull out their phones, Level 3's Temerario is the smart buy, and Level 4's hardcore V10s are the enthusiast's choice for anyone who wants to feel every last rev of a naturally aspirated engine before they're gone. Level 5, the Revuelto, is the dream made real, the halo you can actually order, and if you can afford it, it is worth every penny of the theater. Above that, levels 6 and 7, you've stopped buying performance and started buying rarity, history, and status, which is completely fine as long as you understand that's exactly what you're paying for. Because that's the thing about Lamborghini that no other brand quite matches. From the most sensible Urus to the wildest one-off, every single one of them is built to make you feel something the second you turn the key. The only question is how much of that feeling you actually need and how much you're willing to pay for the badge that comes with it. If this breakdown helped you finally make sense of the Lamborghini range, do the channel a favor and hit subscribe, because we go this deep on a different manufacturer every single week. And I genuinely want to hear from you in the comments. First, which level is honestly your sweet spot? Be truthful, is it the everyday Urus or the flagship Revuelto? Second, was Lamborghini right to keep the naturally aspirated V12 alive in the Revuelto when everyone else is turbocharging and downsizing? And third, if I handed you the keys to any one car from level 7, no strings attached, which Halo Lamborghini are you choosing? Drop your answers below. I read every one of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.